and reminded me that I am running behind. So I am lucky enough this evening to again be joined by an incredible angler, an incredible bait maker, the one, the only Thatcher from Drop Tine Tackle. Thank you, Thatcher, for hopping on tonight with me. Appreciate it, dude.
Hey, glad to do it. This is fun. I like doing this stuff.
So the Thatcher and I have worked together. We've fished together. It's been a good time. I got up there to Canada again this year with Thatcher, and Lake of the Woods was a little bit more kind to us this year. Care
Yeah,
to elaborate on that one?
it was better. Last year was a bit of a struggle on that. That was a day or two I don't even really want to mention, anyways. But yeah, this year was a lot better. We seen fish, caught some fish, and all in all, it was good.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Second day was a little tougher, but we still caught, and we
Yeah,
just didn't.
we
I
didn't have
mean,
as
we
much time on the second day.
No, and the problem is like the storms that were pressing us the second day, it was just kind of one of those deals where it was like, do you, kind of push through it and hope that they push off and don't come and hit you and like take advantage of those bite windows that might result, or
Yep.
do you? But it was a good lesson and humbling experience for me to kind of take that in. Which I'm sorry that you had to suffer with me on those days. And maybe you're gonna get
Nah,
a
that
little
that
bit
ain't
too.
suffering. I got to get out of the yard. I got to get out of the shop
That's
and go
very
go do
fair.
some fishing. So yeah.
Well, and that was cool this summer too. I got to see like the whole shop operation and kind of how you guys have changed venues a little bit and gotten a little bit more space, which is awesome. And just like
Hmm.
and I didn't even realize you do like pretty much everything from start to finish. Like I didn't realize until this summer that you pour your own lead for pretty much all of the things and source the
Yep.
lead where you can get it. Like that is just bananas to me that you do like everything from the front to
It's
the back, which is cool. Minus like
it's
forging your hooks basically is about it.
that's about it. And bending all the wires, doing everything. So yeah, we're
Yeah.
we're we're starting to, I guess, what would you source out a couple little things to kind of save us some steps and try to save our what we have left of our hands, anyways, because it gets to be a lot after a while.
Totally. Jody
Yeah.
was like burning the candle at both ends those days that we were there. Like we would come in from the water and she'd be working, and then she'd be kind
Yep.
enough to make us dinner. And then as soon as we were done with dinner and chit chat, and she's like back to tying skirts and stuff. Like the one bait
Yeah.
that
She.
crushed for me in Canada, she made it like that night as we were just BSing together.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was cool. You got to see all that, how that's done too, which was kind of neat.
But I
Yeah, but yeah,
suppose
when she's in the groove, she doesn't stop. She just keeps going. So I'm
I
not
see
I'm not
that.
gonna stop her, I guess.
But I can see too how that's kind of like advantageous in a way to where you're kind of able to just like work when you have time to like get things done whenever that time is, which is like a super cool thing. And then you can
Yep.
kind of like she took Theo to the I think to go swim in the one day, which is awesome. And so it's like you can
Mhm.
take a little break in the middle of the day and make up for it when he goes to bed. Like that flexibility with the operation I'm super envious of, but also not so
Yeah,
envious of like the pressure of orders kind of thing.
yeah. Well, the pressure border is the small part of it, I
That's
guess.
fair.
That's that part. Just pump it out and get it done. But yeah, the downside to it being, kind of right in our own home and right in our own shop is it's easy to not take a break.
Yeah,
Like
that's
you
I
can you can just get stuck at work and just you got to get stuff done, and you can't leave it. I guess that's the hard part. You can't just go home and get away from it for the night. You're
yeah,
there, but it's all good. Everybody that we deal with is awesome and whatnot.
yeah, totally. Not sure.
What we got on?
Big glitch in
I
the
should have brought my
audio.
glasses.
I'm not. I hope that there isn't a glitch in the audio. It sounds fine on my end. Does it sound okay to you, Thatcher?
Yeah, it sounds good on my end.
Okay. Well, hopefully there's nothing too serious there. But I appreciate the heads up on that, Glenn. Um,
Hmm.
But yeah, I could see how having all of your work in one place while you're there always could be kind of draining at times too. Like my wife works remote and kind of has the same sort of deal at times too.
Right.
See, okay, so I had another guy say that the audio is kind of weird. I've had that happen
We're-
before when I went live with Adam from Top Line. It was kind of weird at first, and then it kind of equalized out, and I don't. I'm not really sure
Interesting. Yeah, it's
why
like
it does
you
that.
sound super clear.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like since we're quote unquote international right now, if that's part of the issue. Because yeah, I don't know. As long as it's
Hmm.
not, like, super crazy bad, anyone in the comments, let me know if things get really weird, but, honestly, there's not a lot I could do about it anyways. Because yeah, it would just be one of our internet connections, which I know that Thatcher's internet is good where he's at because I used it when I was at his place, so
Yeah, but we've been having some issues with it lately, so
dang,
but it should be
sorry to
good.
hear that.
It's working.
Um,
Who knows?
shoot, what was I gonna say? So yeah, I mean, overall, Thatcher, how was the season? Aside from just fishing with me a couple of times, but did you get out much or just kind of when you could?
Just kind of when I could, not it definitely wasn't often enough. Um, like this fall, I think I only got out. I think I made it out like 4 days all fall, basically from right after the Musky Cup through till freeze up. I only made it out like 4 days, a couple hours here and there just to maybe catch some walleyes or crappies for dinner, and that's it. But
Let's
up
see.
until you got there, I put a few days on the water guiding, and then that was yeah, just other things going on and work and yep.
Well, okay, so
It was just hard to get out.
you
I
mentioned a
was
couple.
living through everybody else basically.
Fair enough. So you mentioned
Yeah.
a couple of tournaments there, and I know that you did two big tournaments this season. So I want you to talk about both of those because I know one of them went really, really well for you guys, and I kind of want you to break down, what was working at that time for the cup. I know that you are pretty familiar with doing well in that tournament, so yeah, let's talk about the cup, and then we can talk about the other one, or you can talk about the other one
I,
first, and then the cup. It's up to you.
well, I never ended up doing the other one. We only ever just did the one tournament. I think we backed out of it. So,
Okay.
but yeah, the Muskie Cup went. It was kind of tough fishing. It was good leading up to it, and then I think if I remember right, we got a bunch of bad weather like the few days prior to the cup, and it really switched things around. And from what I understand, fishing was really, really good up until that point. And then, the temps started dropping and things started changing a little bit. But yeah, all in all, I mean, the cup fishing was musky fishing. The first day we got one fairly early. Partner Dave there, he what was that one? A 46. And when he was reeling in, he thought he had weeds on. The fish just grabbed it and he's like, "Oh, I got weeds. No, I got a pipe. No." It's like, "Dave, that's a good one."
That's funny.
It was just kind of coming in with him. It was just kind of a skinny 46. It didn't fight a whole lot. And I'm like, "Okay, here's our bite window. Things are going to change." And I think we went like 4 more hours before finally hooked into another one. And then second day was quite a bit different. We had a couple fish fairly early in one of our videos. I was skeptical on that it didn't work because I couldn't review it on our camera. And then so all day I'm stressing. I'm like, we need a third fish here, like just to prove that I still have a video, And
Hmm.
ended up missing 5 fish throughout the
Oh
rest of
man.
the day. It was just heartbreaking, like just fish after fish after fish, and it's just I don't know, just I couldn't stay pinned on them, and I lost them all. My part
Hmm.
more than anything. Yeah.
That can happen. But then, how did things
Mhm.
turn out for the Muskie Cup, Thatcher?
Uh it came down to a tie with Danny Herbeck and Steve Barker, which they've won the cup before. They're always like top 3, top 5 sort of thing every year. They've won it once. Yeah, we came down to the nitty gritty with them, and it came down to the longest overall weight for one of the days, and I think we had that by a half inch only.
I see.
So it was super close. Fishing was tough. Everybody, coming in at the end of the day, I didn't think we had fish even remotely close to be where we were at. So
Hmm.
just based on what came in the first day and whatnot. But again, that's musky fishing. It changes quick and whatnot. And fishing was tough, and I was pulling spots out from when I started guiding 25 years ago. Like I was digging hard. I'll just put it that way. I was digging hard for spots, and because none of the go-to stuff was really working.
That's
So
that can happen. That's always like the duality of like tournament fishing, and like that was something that my buddy and I always, whenever we were having like a really good tournament, we're just like, oh god, that means like the bite is on and everybody's having a good time. Or if like the bite is really tough, and then it's like, well, would you prefer having a tough bite versus like an easy bite? And then like it doesn't take as much to win during the tough bite, but like, you got to make them bite when that's happening. And then we've had the
right,
opposite where it's like we were just not doing very well and everyone else was doing really, really good. And we're just like, oh, maybe it won't take that much to win. And then we just got absolutely just smoked. But
right. Yeah, I
uh,
think anybody that tournament fishes has probably been there a time or two.
yeah,
Yeah,
what do you do?
it's fun. It's so much fun. It's one of the greatest weekends of our season up here, and everybody that fishes it, I mean, they all look forward to it. It's a bunch of really good fishermen. Like they're all really really good. So
Sure.
yeah,
So, were those fish
but yeah.
on your?
There's the cup. I had to bring it in.
That's so awesome. Were- So were those fish on your lures, or were they like what did they eat during the cut?
Some of them were the streak that I had where I lost them all. That was all on a 8-9, like one of the non-typicals that I make.
Hmm.
Um, and then had a couple on tubes, and then it was kind of split 50-50 tubes or inlines basically.
Were they your
So
tubes?
I can't say.
Fair enough, Thatcher.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Speaking of your tubes, I was like lucky enough to chat with Jordan Weeks and stuff up there with you, and I brought a couple of your castback guys out to talk about tonight because these are awesome.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think.
Jordan. He got a couple of them that week when he was up there
Yeah, I mean they're super
on them.
cool. And I really like the
His didn't
double.
have the trailer hook though.
Well, sorry, Jordan, but not sorry. I like having that trailer hook. I casted it back on fish several times this year. I didn't probably throw it as much as I needed to, but it got some run time, and like I need to do it more. It'll probably be one of those things where I'll probably use it more for clients in the spring and those kinds of things. And also like
Mhm.
we didn't. I was planning on jigging it more this fall than I did, and like I just we normally my buddy Barry and I, like you fish with Barry, like we do a lot of jigging in November and stuff, but for whatever strange reason, this November, like the casting bite was on. So like the weeks that we would normally be out there in the basin just grinding it, trying to jig something up out of nothing, like we were on a different lake and casting ridgeways and yeah, and, like beavers and stuff, and it was working really good. So I
Yep.
don't know. I was throwing
Yep.
the Bam Bam most of the time because I was like in the middle just trying to figure out what the fish would eat that wasn't a Ridgeway, and it didn't work for me.
Great.
So
I was really looking forward to trying my Bam Bam this fall, and I didn't get a chance to get out and really do it. So that the couple days that I spent out this fall, we did a lot of trolling and just didn't
yeah,
do much for casting at all. So,
yeah,
but
that's
yeah,
that's fair.
this right here, Matt, is probably it's a little bigger than the one you got,
Uh
but with
huh.
a 1 ounce head.
Nice.
So we're probably gonna drop these at some point this winter,
I like it.
I think. So super simple. It's just a hair bigger than the one you got.
So like
Body
what?
size and everything.
Like 7 inches versus 6, or like
No,
eight
it's
inches.
it's still 6. It's still 6 inches, but it's just beefier.
Okay, cool.
It's just a little bit bigger tube all around. A little thicker body. Just all around a little heavier,
So
I guess.
is that specifically for muskies, or is that like for the guys who are looking for the king daddy lake trout as well, or just kind of both
It could
bases
be
like
it,
your other
it
ones?
could be both. Could be
Okay.
both. A couple people that I talked to about it, because I think the one you got has a 3/4 ounce head in it,
Okay.
which um
I
really
would
is about as big as I could fit in that tube without it
I would
blowing the
tell
plastic out.
I would tell you, but it's like you can't read it 'cause it's off of there from being in my tackle bag all summer long.
Yeah, all good. But yeah, this one's a 1 ounce. A couple guys said they'd rather have it a little heavier. Just easier to throw with heavier line and little heavier rods. So yeah,
Totally.
but it would definitely work for jigging lake trout. But
Yeah,
yeah, this one's going to be more specific on I guess the musky side of things.
yeah, that's awesome.
So
Well, since we're talking tubes and stuff, Thatcher, why don't we just take a second and kind of run down kind of your bait lineup? Because you do like I think everyone's pretty familiar with the growler at this point. Like I've used the growler a
mhm.
ton. Like lots of people have used the growler, but like I don't think a lot of people realize some of the other offerings that you have just like within your bait lineup generally. And I think that people probably know that you offer bucktails too, but maybe not as much like the different models. So if you want to take a second to run those down, that would be awesome. If not, that I
Cool.
mean, I can share what I have here, but I'm
I should
sorry
have I should have
if I
grabbed
caught
a
you unawares.
no, 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 not really. So like Matt, you got a bunch of triple deuces.
I do, yeah.
Um,
So
so
I got an OG here that I found on the flea for like next to nothing, and I can't believe that I scored that guy.
yeah, that's crazy. You told I can't believe what you paid for him, but that's good though.
I'm not mad about it,
Um,
that's for sure.
so we have changed the triple deuce a little bit. So I ran a bunch more testing on it and kind of changed things up again, just for mainly castability. Because one of the issues with the triple deuce is that if you cast it into the wind, it wanted to roll, and the leader would
Mhm.
follow up around the wire or something like that. It did that a lot. So we lengthened it a fair bit. So when the fish comes up, it's not going to get a mouthful of blades and hook. It's going to get more just hook, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, and then change the weight system in it a little bit. Now we're just running a standard ounce and a half of weight. It's probably more like closer to 2 ounces after you put the beads on it.
So is that more like
But
this one here with this one? This one's an older one too because it's got like the single hook, but you got a bigger weight there. Oh, can't
yeah,
really see that. So is this
so
like
it's
more similar to kind
similar
of
to
what you
that,
got
but
going
I
there?
think that's even heavier weight. That's probably an ounce and a half, and it's probably got a weight up in front of it yet too,
It
right?
it does, yeah. It looks like probably a half ounce up there.
Yeah,
So
so that one's got a little more weight to it, but I just found going back closer to, I guess, like kind of what the original was, just with not doing two skirts, just doing one skirt on it. We always found that had probably the best luck over the years, was something more like that, I guess. And then just the castability of this, and then we'll offer it with a single hook or a treble hook. It's
yeah,
your
cool.
call. You take the picks. So because
Well, and
some
then
guys
you
wanted the single hook, and some guys really like the treble hook
well
on it.
because you have the hook hanger thinger up there too that people can
Yep.
put a extra hook on if they want. So yeah, I like the
Mhm.
singles because generally I run those through thicker stuff. So no, I mean
Right.
people just knowing that they have the option is kind of handy too. As this original one only had the only weight it has is just this one up front here. The head is the
Yeah.
only weight.
Yeah. And the one of the downsides to that is everything was formed onto the wire. So you get a bit of, sometimes you get the breakage right where the wire enters the head of
Sure.
I guess the head of the spinner bait more than anything. And all that is because we're constantly bending it there nonstop.
Hmm. Yeah.
To tweak it or to tune it. That's where it takes all of its torque at. That's the weak point on those spinner baits. And then like with these, we can rebuild them.
Yeah.
If the wire gets all messed up, we can still rebuild it and reuse all the parts if we wanted to.
That's very fair. So
Yeah.
you've got the growler and the triple deuce. Those are your spinnerbait type of lineups, right?
Yep.
Um, and then what about what about your bucktails? What do you think on those? Unless you want to talk at
So
all about the proto, but I'm not going to force you to do that tonight.
I might let you tease a little bit on that. I mean,
Okay, I didn't grab one of mine from downstairs because I didn't know how
I
much
can
of that you
jingle it a
wanted
little
to
bit here.
reveal. Yeah. It's loud. It sounds louder in the water than it does out of the water, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know. You throw it for a while and your hands go numb. Basically, it's like running a weed whipper for a while. I'll say that much. The first day I threw it, my hand was pretty numb after, I don't know, about 2 hours of throwing it. So
Yep. That is a fact.
But yeah, on the inlines, this is the one. I think this is the one that I caught when I was with you that day.
I think so. Yeah. Is that your
I'm pretty
8-8?
sure it was a purple.
Because
This is
you
an
made me.
8-9.
Oh, you did the 8-9 because you made me a double eights. In that kind of like gold or not gold, orange black copper split,
Hmm.
just crushable. I sharpened those hooks well. Jeez Louise, those are sharp.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So like there's 8-9. We do the 9-10s, double eights, double nines, double tens, and we can vary them. We've had some guys ask for 8-10s
Yeah,
sort
because
of
I got
thing, and go down to the dock and run them and test them, and they spin great, and sent them out. No complaints yet
yeah, this
on
is one of
those.
the 9-10s, I believe. The
I like that
non-purples.
color.
I do too. It's
Um,
really good at a very specific time for what I do down here, which is part of the reason I
so
grabbed this one. But it turns out this one works as well in Canada as it does here in Iowa. So that's good.
so a color that we do is the Wonder Bread color. So
Uh
it's
huh.
like white and pink and blue and chartreuse, and then I think depending on the model, it's like a pink and blue blade, I believe, like an iridescent blue and an iridescent pink.
Yeah, Connor
My
has one
goal
of those.
two summers ago was to catch a fish on something like that color. I'm going to catch something on that's super bright and kind of ugly, I guess. It's turning into probably one of my favorite colors.
That's awesome.
It's just lights out all the time when I go out, and I'm really liking it. I looked for it earlier to show everybody, and I can't find it. So
There's
I don't know what it is with it. It's here somewhere, but
yeah, there's something with the flat white in like in the skirt coloring, and then like whatever you put around the flat white and how that flat white brings it out. I know that's like
Mhm.
so nondescript, but like it's very true that there is just something about that kind of combination of the flat white and pearl or the flat white and black or the flat white and whatever. So
You're right.
it's just cool.
Yeah, that I think that's just a little bit of pearl, iridescent pearl that goes in it.
Oh
It
yeah,
just really makes it. It just blows
yeah,
it up. So it
yeah.
really helps it.
One of my favorites by far is like pearl and black because then the black makes the pearl look greenish and just gives it a really
Yep.
nice kind of like crappie bait fish kind of color kind of vibe.
Yep. Adam, you're due for that one of these years.
No kidding. Well,
You
I
got to
mean,
get
don't feel.
back up here and bring that home to you.
I was gonna say, don't feel too bad for Adam because I think didn't he come south and win the Chautauqua Challenge or whatever last
You know
year
what?
or
I
this
think you
year?
might have.
One of those years he won it, and it was like super
Yep.
recent. So yeah, I'm sure he's due for that one at some point too. The dude is a heck of a tournament fisherman.
Yeah, he is too.
The cra-
Makes some awesome baits too.
I remember talking to Adam about that, and he's like, I had these baits that I just wanted to try out for the. Uh, I just wanted to try out, and I didn't really have a time to pro to them, so I just started chucking them in the tournament, and they caught fish. It's like
Yeah.
that is just
That's weird how that
bananas.
works.
Like just the amount of confidence to just like out of nowhere, I just made this like 2 days ago, and it's gonna catch fish for me, and I'm gonna make money doing it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Big baller is what that's called. Thank you, Adam. Yeah, no, that's cool. So Thatcher, what else you got? Because you got some interesting blades as well that are not your typical, um, like the base
Right.
jumper. Do you want to talk about that and kind of the inspiration with that one? I'm
So
not
that
sure enough people probably know about the base jumper.
not many people know about it. We haven't pushed it overly hard. The first time, I think it was the first one I made, I went out and I caught a muskie within a couple hours on. I was like, well, this is cool. The whole point of it was to, I guess, extend the blade season into the fall and kind of
Mhm.
work it more like a rubber bait where it'll, you get the blades moving, you give it a good rip, and you can kind of pause it and kind of let it pendulum swing down, and the blades will keep spinning. And then you kind of work it back up, and you can work it pretty deep. I've worked it like 15, 18 feet of water before,
Oh yeah.
off the steep breaks, and you can jig it back. Some guys are using it for trolling just because of the extra weight.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's probably where we probably get most of the interest for it. is guys that are trolling with bucktails.
I where I've used this one is like for people in my boat, kind of my sandgrass stuff in northern Wisconsin. Um, I'll have less experienced anglers throw that one, and I'll just tell them to reel it slow. And the beauty of it is like it slow rolls really easy, and then I don't have to worry about them like being conscious of keeping that thing in the zone. And I
Right.
also the other thing I love about it too is like so like mayhem grenades are great for that style of fishing or whatever. Um, Dadson made me one of his it's called a cajones. It's basically like his version of a grenade or the original version of the grenade, depends on who you talk to. But
Right.
like you have to be pretty conscious about where you're running that bait and also how you're casting it because Johnny's doesn't foul up nearly as much as the Mayhem ones. The Mayhem ones foul up all the time. So
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
Brad. Sorry, Brad, if you're listening to this or any of you Mayhem diehards out there. Uh, the original one was fouling. I mean, and I can't knock on it too hard because my third biggest Wisconsin muskie is on the regular size grenade. You know, just like a sandgrass freak and 18 foot of water just came up and clobbered it as soon as the pitch of the bait changed, and it's just like it was
Hmm.
awesome. It's one of the
The
coolest pure
concept on it
muskies.
is awesome.
Oh yeah, but those
So,
originals are impossible to cast into the wind. The mini ones I've had much better success with. But anyway, that's like a long-winded
mhm.
explanation to get to
Well,
the
like
point.
even the base jumper is a little tricky to cast, especially into the wind. You gotta lay it out there like you do like casting a bulldog or a deuce or something like that. You can't just cast it out there and hope it lands perfect every
Yeah,
time. You gotta slow it down and let that tail pass the rest of it and lay it in there and start cranking. So, um, do have you seen how you change the tails on them?
No, I'll let you talk about that. But I was getting to the point of my long-winded story there, Thatcher, where I like less experienced people throwing the base jumper because it gets to the depth of the grenade without nearly as many foul ups and without quite as much experience. Is what I was
Right.
getting at there. I kind of rambled on too much with that one. But yeah, talk
No,
about
all
the
good.
tail thing. You
But
have
yeah,
a really
it's
cool
got a
thing.
like a hitchhiker that we built into the hook. It's like a little corkscrew, and it makes it super easy to change the grub if you want to change it if it gets wrecked or something like that. So then it just screws on
That's
and go. Rather
also
than like we used to always like take the treble hook off and thread the shank of the hook up through it, and then
yeah.
try to get it all back together basically without the grub interfering.
Well, and then that
Yeah,
way
it
too,
makes it
you
a lot
can
easier for changing.
yeah, well, and you can shorten the grub, lengthen the grub, whatever, however much, however little you want on the back end of that thing. And the
Yep.
other cool thing, the way that you do that is like with the spring off the back end of it, um, it's cool because then you don't have to worry about the grub deadening the vibration of the shaft of the bait.
Right.
Which, does it really matter? Does it not matter? I don't know. But, some people swear by, keeping the vibration of that lure, of that bait true throughout. And then if you affect it in any way, shape, or form, then it's going to be not as good. So, um,
Hmm.
but that's definitely a way to get the grub on there and get around that issue, I guess is what I'm
Right.
trying to say. Must be just
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
long winded tonight. I don't know. Sorry, Thatcher.
All good. All good. Yeah, and then the base jumper that's in two sizes. Um, we do that in double nines and double eights, but one is with two skirts and one is with a single skirt.
I think this is
And
your
we
two skirter guy. This is a
that's a
big,
two skirt double
yeah.
nines. Um, I have made some for personal with eight nines, and they seem to run okay. And then for a few others with eight nines also that ask for them like on request, I guess. But
I
I tried tens and I couldn't get the tens to work at
Yeah.
all.
I
They
mean,
they would just
that's a
follow up in the
lot.
leader constantly.
That's a lot to, you know, uh, well, not only that, but also to get them to spin and get enough weight in front of them to get them to spin, kind of in a natural way. And also,
Yeah.
like, I understand why you don't really offer the staggers because, like, the staggers, you have to tend to kick more to get them to rock
Hmm.
before whereas like dual blades like that should just open right up. Not that they always do,
Yeah,
but the same size tend to
in
open
theory.
up better. Yeah, they
Yeah,
tend to open better than your staggers. So yeah,
right. Yeah, and then I guess that's kind of it for inlines. I don't think I'm missing anything on that. And then
no, I don't
Glenn
think so.
at 54 Bust and like Dave there, they were played a pretty good part in getting the growler arm attachments
Oh, that was what I forgot to grab from
rolling.
downstairs. Yeah, sorry.
So these have been actually a pretty big hit, which has been really cool.
Eh,
Team
It's
Rhino carries a bunch. Thorn Brothers carries a bunch. There's I don't know if we have many stores up here that carry them, but a lot down there, like Thorn Brothers and Team Rhino, they both carry these. Team Rhino's got a huge selection of them.
They're super awesome because like you can put them on just about anything, and they still get the rattle that the original growler has. Like I put them on that 8-inch Poseidon from Chaos Tackle, and it was rattling like it was rattling like it was this thing. So like just
Mhm.
being able to change up the profile and add those things on there is awesome. The one thing I
Yeah,
did do with it, have you done much with that attachment and done like any pull pause or anything like that? Because I was just straight retrieving it
a,
when
a
I've
little
used it.
bit. I honestly haven't used it a whole lot myself. Glenn and Dave are the ones that probably did the majority of that with it on getting it going
Sure.
and giving me some insight. And then they're Glenn's friend Matt Abel. He ran it a bunch. He's got a bunch of them that he also used. So the that little tube that I showed you earlier, you put
Mhm.
one of those on a little tube and it looks like a giant beetle spin. That's so cool.
That is
And beetle spins
I'll
catch everything.
oh, yeah, totally. I'll have to mess with that more this coming
Yeah,
season.
it's pretty cool.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I wish I coulda used them more this fall because I think they would have been effective in a lot of the places that I fished, but I was having trouble with clients, like, keeping the bait up enough in the water column the way it was and, like, engaging the reel fast enough that the last thing they needed was more weight in the front to, like, bring it down and get it snagged before
Right.
the cast even began. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, no, I mean they did. It was a fun fall. I mean, you know all of the trials and tribulations about guiding and all the things you've done it for ages. I guess that being said, like what kind of made you transition away from guiding more to the bait making side of things? Because like Brady and I talked a little bit about this last night, where he's kind of like on the bait side of things and maybe trying to figure out a way to transition to more of a full-time thing, but you kind of are doing the guiding transitioning to the bait thing. And I guess what was kind of the thought process there?
It was a tough decision. It's still a tough decision. I miss guiding. I miss it a lot. I miss the people. I didn't do a whole lot of musky guiding. It was always, go out and catch walleyes or perch or whatever for shore lunch, cook a shore lunch, and maybe fish for a while and come home. But I miss it a lot. Miss having, the kids, the families that I got to know over the years. I'm still doing some, but very little. But COVID, honestly, I shouldn't even say the word, but that kind of ruined my guiding. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of transitioned to other work then, and
Sure.
a lot of the groups that I did have were never coming back again. Um, Not that anything bad happened to them.
Hmm.
They're done. They were shut
Yeah,
out of the
once
country.
well once that
And
is disrupted and that flow of year to year and their standard vacation and stuff gets disrupted,
Mhm.
it's sometimes hard for people to fall back into that same routine.
It
So I
is,
get
and
that,
they
which
found
sucks
other
for all of you
places to
guys out
go.
there. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
totally. That year,
It really sucked, but I mean, I just wasn't. I don't know how to. I wasn't willing to go hard at it to regain the clientele again.
sure.
This was going pretty busy, and I'm like, well, it's either I make a decision now, or I go back to it and keep bouncing back and forth. And I was doing guiding this stuff, and then I was also doing property management all at the same time. And that's kind of what got me through COVID more
Mhm.
than anything through that year was the property management. And I don't want to do three jobs anymore.
I
Basically,
don't
I
I don't
don't.
blame you there. I don't blame you
Yeah.
there at all. Yeah, and I kind of get where you're coming from with like just taking out people to go catch fish. Like I'm looking at expanding some of my guiding up to the North Woods this season.
Mhm.
And I don't know how much of that will be musky. I don't know how much of it will be pike and bass, whatever. I do look forward to the prospect of just kind of getting up there and allowing people a day on the water to enjoy themselves and catch fish because, like, up there,
Absolutely.
it is easy to catch fish at times. Most of the time, it's easy to catch fish. If you want to go
Right.
catch fish, like if you want to catch muskies, muskies are muskies everywhere. But like catching fish up there is just silly because I'm used to like a handful of lakes in my home area that are just like hammered with pressure because like the angler per capita per like body of water ratio is just so far off in our state. Like I think we talked about this on the boat, but like Iowa is in the bottom 5 driest states in the entire United States, which is just bananas to
Hmm.
think about. Like, when you think about places like Arizona and, like, New Mexico and these places in the desert, and
Right.
I Iowa is literally drier than some of those places in the desert. Like, it's just
That's hard to
crazy.
believe with all the crops that they grow.
I know, it's but anyway, my point is that, like, being down here, we're used to all these lakes that get pressured constantly, whether it's, like, recreational anglers, tournament fishing or recreational fishing or shore fishing, all the above. And there's just so much more area in Wisconsin or Canada to spread that pressure out. And like
Mhm.
there's places that don't even see anglers probably at points during the year, which is just crazy. Like I think
Yeah,
about
yeah, like, even, like, where we were, Matt, like, there's stretches throughout the summer, like, you're lucky to see another boat casting for muskies.
I know, it's awesome. It's
Like,
so cool.
it's it's crazy. It's hard to think about it, and then there's stretches, it's like, "Okay, I feel like I'm waiting for a spot."
Yeah,
There
that's
there
fair.
there's periods of the summer where it gets pretty jammed out there, not and only for, like, a week or 2, it seems like, and then a
Yeah.
day here and there once in a while, and that's about it, so
Yeah, and that's, like, the beauty of being up north is just, like, that pressure gets spread out, and there are busy periods, but it's just like the holiday season anywhere, people wanna get out and get on the water during the 4th of July weekend, you got a longer weekend, and I totally get that, but yeah, just it's so different. That was actually part of the reason I got into musky fishing because like, not only my father-in-law giving me a hard time, my first couple trips up there, like talking about bass fishing and stuff. But like legitimately for me, bass fishing up there was so easy that it was like boring. It's like if the Texas rig wasn't getting bit off by a pike, it was getting bit by a bass. Like
yeah, yeah,
it was something that was like totally different to me. But Brady,
right.
what's up, dude?
Oh, good. Brady's on. I'm gonna catch a fish on that bowfin, hopefully next summer. I'm gonna do
I
it.
I smuggled one up to Canada for him this summer, Brady. So it's gonna happen. He's got what I think I gifted him one of the Northwoods 9 ones, like Hanson's color. So yeah, it
Yeah,
should
it's like
be
a
pretty good.
black and white, I think.
Yeah, the really clear body of water, I think that will get right into the zone that you want it to, Thatcher. That was why I grabbed that one
Mhm.
for you.
Yep, no,
So
it's awesome looking bait too. I was excited to see it.
yeah, that well,
So
and like I think that like I was talking with Brady last night, I think that that's just a really good bait for those clear bodies of water because like those heavier models that he has, whether it's the reg or if you weight down the junior, I mean, it's getting it to a depth range where you're not giving yourself up nearly as much for those fish to like see you. Like they're seeing the bait,
right.
and the only time they're going to see you is if you mess up your figure eight or something like that, because you should be able to bring that bait into the figure eight and shoot it up past your boat in front of that fish, and they should eat it, in that top corner and never see you
Mhm.
until you put hooks in their face. I mean,
Right.
best laid
In
plans,
in
but
in theory. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't always play out that way, but
yeah, no kidding.
yeah.
Uh, Well, Glenn said that the Growler Arm just missed out on their top 5 of 24, and I believe that. And
Yeah.
that's kind of the same kind of program that Glenn's on too, well, I shouldn't say always, but, like, the lake that we fished together, that's kind of the same deal where it was super clear and just having something that's a little different, getting below that standard plane of
Mhm.
visibility that most lures penetrate. I mean, it sets your presentations apart. Like, that's why that Ridgeway was doing so good up there for me at the time. I understand that's you got extra weight with the growler arm. The Orba is pretty heavy itself, so it's
Yep.
just probably getting right to that same zone. And like
Hmm.
Adam's baits, that's why the Dipstick XL works so well in those situations too. Um,
Right.
so yeah,
Yeah. Sometimes sometimes you got to get past that point, and
yeah.
that's baits like
Well,
that do it. So
when the water's like over 20 foot of visibility, it's just like sometimes just trying to figure out what to do to make those fish go when it's that clear is half the battle. So
yeah,
I don't
the nice thing about it is most of the time they just eat. They don't
yeah.
uh, they don't mess around with you at the boat or anything like that. They just eat it if they want it. The boat tends to spook them. So
Yeah, I mean, and I would agree with that. Like the lake that our cabin's on in Wisconsin, the water is usually anywhere between, depending on the lake and the chain that you're on, and depending on the time of the year, it could be anywhere between like 6 and you know 16 foot of visibility when it's like at its clearest. But like they're super boat shy. Like half the time, if you get one coming into the eight, it'll spook, you know, 10 feet from the boat, and then it's just not even coming back. And it is what it is. Like, honestly, that was a huge issue for me, in my like musky fishing journey because um, it made me really bad at figure eights for the longest time. And like, I didn't get meaningful practice at figure eights because like the fish would be gone before I'd even have a chance to even mess with them in the figure eight to make it
Mhm.
happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tricky on water like that.
Brady wants to see the prototype.
Oh, you could. We might have to keep teasing him a little bit.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, I
She
got
did.
to I got to still run that past Jody. So
Yeah, I mentioned that last night that like Jody was tying that up and giving us the side eye because like she's like, oh gosh, if this works, then we're just gonna have one more one more thing to make.
right. Yeah, that's for sure.
I'll,
Yeah, I get that
I'll
side eye quite once in a while when I'm creating something. Yeah,
uh, yeah,
but yeah,
yeah, pretty much, Brady, pretty much.
I'm glad you're on our side, Brady.
Yeah, like I told you last night, Brady, selfishly, I don't want Thatcher to tell anybody about this thing because it's like it's legitimately the closest thing I've seen at times to a musky cheat code where they just like lose their minds. But there are a couple of kinks that we got to work out, and we're working on those as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but
But
yeah,
I
it's
did. I think two of the fish that I got up on the goon came on one of those.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really
So
good up there.
yeah,
It's really good.
yeah.
Yeah, it's cool, and I think like whenever all of the things get worked out, I think people will be really excited for them because just it's something that is different, and it's really it has a big profile in a small. It puts off a big presence with a small profile. I think that's
Hmm.
the best way to talk about it because like the size of it is really not that much different than the growler. In fact, it might be the same. I don't.
It's almost identical, almost.
Yeah, because like yeah, you didn't upsize the wire or anything like that for it, did you?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's upsized.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't bring one to compare, but it doesn't matter because it translates the vibration through the water just insane.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I didn't think it would hold up with the lighter wire, so I didn't even mess with the lighter stuff. I just went straight up to
yeah,
heavy.
I'm guessing, Brady, it would work really good on your water just based on what you have told me and what we have talked about in terms of where you find success and how you find it, and especially just having something that's a little different and loud, especially because I know that you like to fish at night, and it would probably be a really good night fishing bait. Just gonna say that. I don't know.
Never thought of that.
You can correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, because you're probably used to like having to come in at night because you don't want to crash your boat and die on your way back
Well,
to the
it ain't
dock.
that. I like to sleep at night, so I don't go out.
Fair enough. I'm with
Yeah,
you on that one. Everything's just harder at night. I know that people catch
it
so many
is.
fish at night, and I just I think it would be one of those things where if I had some success doing it the few times that I had done it, it probably would have been like, oh, this is like a cheat code. But like
Mhm.
since
I
since
got to do this
muskies
again.
since muskies were muskies, every time that I went out at night, I was just like, yeah, it's whatever. And then like you're
Yeah.
fighting the bugs and everyone's like back at the cabin playing games or like, having supper and you're just like, why am I doing this to myself?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The mosquitoes up here just get way too bad once that sun goes behind the trees. You're done.
I should try the night thing here in Iowa just to see how it compares, like mosquito wise, to like the Northwoods and stuff. Because like the only places I've tried it is the Northwoods. So
Mm,
I wonder if it wouldn't be as bad here. I mean, the bugs are bad in Iowa too. Don't get me
right.
wrong, but like Northwoods and Canadian mosquitoes they're just built different.
Mhm. No, that's for sure. Everybody, I think from what I understand, it works it better on like clear bodies of water, like where the
Yep,
water's really clear. Like I know like Crow Lake, a lot of guys would go out and night troll and do really well night
I
trolling.
believe
And
that.
I tried it once and we never got anything, and I just haven't been overly ambitious to go try it again.
Yeah, but it's
So
like it's different up by you too, because like it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna go putz around in the dark for a little while. Like there's so many hazards on those lakes that like even someone who's fished them for 30 years or over 30 years like there's still surprises that come about. And like that's not
yeah.
even factoring in like changes in lake level and those kinds of things that are
Mhm.
y- yeah.
The part about running at night is the unknown. The stuff we don't know about, or the stuff that's not charted, like a log or something
Sure.
like that. It's too easy to wreck on something like that. So I don't know. I don't push it. I try not to.
So, like, how does that work then? Like with Eagle, for example, I know that they have a law or a regulation where you have to be off, a half hour after sunset, can't get on a half hour before or something like that.
Mhm.
Why is that like standard for Ontario or is that just that lake? And if it is just that
From
lake, why just that lake?
from what I understand, it's just that lake. I had Eagle was the first time I had ever heard of anything like that, and I just heard about that like a couple years ago. I didn't even know it existed. I thought everybody was allowed to fish at night. So yeah.
I mean, overall, like I totally get the safety aspect of it too, especially like
Mhm.
lodges and those kinds of things. Like lodges up there running like that's just like one more thing that they have to worry about after all of the things
Yeah.
that they have to do throughout the day. And it's like, did Tim get back in tonight or is he
Right.
still out there fishing? It's like 11:30. We got to start prepping stuff for breakfast for tomorrow. Like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I get it from that perspective, no doubt.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, the resort that I used to work at, they ordered all their rental boats with no lights because they didn't want people staying out past dark. No nav lights. You had to be back in you know, at dark basically. And yeah, we had to go searching for a couple people because they got a little confused on where they were at and what time it was.
oh, walleye numbers. That's interesting.
Right. It was about. I think a big part of it was about the walleye numbers as to why they shut it down at night.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing something about that too. Now that he mentions that, but
Hmm.
yeah, geez, taking that many walleyes that would be just bananas. I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
that was probably during a time when there really was no slot size, or the limits were probably 6 or 8 at that time, and
Right?
just
Yeah.
it was a free for all. Yeah,
Well, and that
lake stands
probably
saying that.
yeah. I mean, that's probably easier on the ministry too, just from like a patrol perspective, where
Yeah,
it's one less thing for them to worry about. Like they don't have to worry about people taking illegal fish out of the system when they're not going to be there patrolling it anyways, and they can patrol when they're going to patrol. Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense, I guess.
right. Hmm.
Well, yeah, no, that's awesome. So Thatcher, do you have any big plans, goals, or aspirations for 25? Um,
I say it every year. Try to fish more.
Yeah,
Well,
fair enough.
we'll see what happens.
Well, you're in the best
Yeah.
place on earth to do it, honestly. Well,
Ye
regardless of species, unless you're trying to catch like wipers or something that don't exist there, then
Yeah, no,
I
I
don't
think
know what
what
to tell
happens,
you.
it's like it's in my backyard. I can go on it, I can go whenever I want, and then I never. It's like it's too easy. I don't plan to
Sure,
go, and then I never end up going. It's like I need to just start planning to go and go, and I'm hoping to try to do some video content. That's
sure.
another goal. I say that every year too, and I never get any of that done.
Well,
So
hopefully, our stuff will be sometime this winter. I don't. I mean, I've got a couple of tackle talks that I've been working on, and then I've got some others in the hopper that I need to get filmed and taken care of, and then I've got a couple Northwoods ones left. I've got one with KV and another one with the dipstick, and then it will be Canada stuff. Really, I've got a
cool.
couple from the fall, but that's about it. So, I mean, it's coming right up. Connor asked me in
Hmm.
Canada. He's like, "So do you have like a way that you go through these or like a release schedule?" I'm like, "Just whenever I have time to get to it." And I
Right,
do
right.
try and go sequentially because that just makes the most sense to me. But that's also why like I
Yeah.
published a spring video like 2 weeks ago because that was just when I had time to get to it. Like I don't know, man. What
Right.
do you
Yeah.
want from me?
I don't know how you guys do it most of the time because that's a lot of dedication to go through all that footage, especially when you're running multiple cameras and you know
It takes a
it's
minute. It
yeah.
does it I'll be honest, there are times where it feels pretty thankless. I know Glenn talked about that at length in a recent video, and Brian and Ben and I have had many discussions about it as well, to where the amount of effort that goes into the amount of, what you're putting out there for the amount of appreciation it's that is received is, you know, not not always awesome, but it just kind of is what it is. I've done it long enough now where I don't know what I would do if I didn't do it. So like,
Right.
but it is busy, and my timetable is definitely affected at this point because like with a little one on the way, grad school, and like a job and all the things, just like squeezing everything in and every drop out of every day. Most of the time, I just want to like sit on the couch and watch fishing for a
Just
couple hours or an hour
unwind.
before I go to bed. Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Just unwind. Yeah. You got to take time for that too. So
Yeah.
you got to make sure you do that.
Yeah, and Brady, I
Yeah.
appreciate you guys. I appreciate the builders who put their faith in me to like do stuff with their products. Like it's a huge compliment to me that you guys have the faith for me to actually do something, because like sometimes the muskies are just not very nice. So, you
Yeah.
know,
No, you're doing awesome, Matt. So
no,
footage is
that's
always
not.
good.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. That's not a bad idea there, James. A growler
Ooh,
buzzbait, Thatcher. I like that idea a lot.
I've
Write
played
that one
with
down.
one.
Write
I'm
that one
not gonna
down.
lie, I've played with one, but I can't find the right blade for it. I don't know where
Oh,
guys get the big buzz blades. I've
I
searched,
don't
I've asked the companies where I get blades from, and the biggest I can get is like your typical bass size.
even like,
I'm still searching. I haven't given up on it yet. So
well, I appreciate that. And like, so even like a mag bass size, like you can't find something like that. Like
mm,
I know from like my old bass fishing days, there used to be some big ass clackers that you could find from time to time in Bass Pro and those kinds of things that would double for muskies for
right.
sure.
Yeah, and I don't know where those blades are coming from. Same as some of the builders that are getting blades. Message Volk outdoors. He'll make me some. I'll have
Okay,
to
there
look
you
that up.
go.
Thanks, Adam.
Boom, Adam, just coming
I'd
in
take a
clutch like
screenshot of
always.
that, but I might have to go back and take a look at the name.
Well, it'll be there because it'll all publish like normal. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you, Adam. That's a huge tip on that front.
Um,
Um,
but yeah,
so
I guess another goal, Matt, is to try to get Theo a muskie this summer.
yeah, that's huge.
That's my next goal.
I
He
know.
lost one this summer, and he was pretty heartbroken.
Oh no.
So yeah,
I mean,
yeah, on a goofy little bass bait that he bought at one of the convenience stores up here.
I mean, there. It might not be the worst thing that he lost one to begin with, versus like,
Right.
you know, some of those guys will go out and they'll catch like a 4 footer for their first fish. And then it's like, you know, which one is better to like persevere
Yeah.
and really, really try and earn that first one, or to just like the musky gods like gift it to you on a silver
Right.
platter. I'm not sure which is better or
Um,
worse, but I mean the good
yeah,
news
and
is
he
you
had it on within like his first 6 casts of the day. Like
know.
couldn't have happened any sooner. Like and like you say, it's probably a bit of a blessing that I hate to say it, but that he lost it and he's got to try harder, sort of thing.
I
But
mean the good news
yeah,
is you
bum that he
guys
lost it, and in another sense, it's a good learning curve. So
well
we
and
we all got to learn how to lose them.
right. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't ever stop. I think my 2 biggest bites this season I lost. One was on one of your baits, but
Uh-oh.
that's besides
Right.
the
You told
point.
me about that one.
Yeah, I mean, technically, I
Yeah.
didn't lose it. I mean, the fish anyway, it's unfortunate, but that's musky fishing, man. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
And I mean, the good news is you're in an awesome place with like millions of fish to like potentially catch and exploit, and he will definitely get more shots. There's no doubt about that. Especially
Hmm.
you get the right conditions on the right day. Like you guys could go out there and you could have like 30 shots in a day potentially if it was the right
Oh,
kind of
for sure.
day.
Yep.
With
Yeah, I've
everything
seen I've seen
clicking.
it happen before. You might only ever catch 2 or 3, but
It's
you
all
go through a spell where you see a fish on every spot, or you see multiple fish on a spot, and it's like you can't do anything wrong today. They're everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's all well, it's all practice. I mean, like there's no there's no batting cage for figure eights. There's no like
No.
driving range for figure eights. Like it's a living thing that is doing something, and you have to just go out there and try and make it do something, and if it comes in and you do something wrong, then it swims away, and you just like
Right.
your amount of times and tries are so limited that even like on a good day, you might get, 5 to 10 tries to make something happen, which is not that many when you're talking like, you
Mhm.
know, 8 to 14 hours. So,
Right.
that's kind of the beauty and the curse of musky fishing, I suppose.
And
Um,
to stay focused for those 8 to 14 hours, so you don't potentially miss something. And it's normally when you quit paying attention for a minute is when something
mhm.
happens.
Yeah,
So
that's
it never seems to fail.
that's very true. Well, I guess there's a couple ways we could take this, Thatcher. What, kind of like through your seasonal progression, are there certain things like on Shield Lakes that you look for target wise, pattern wise, that people who are coming up to Canada to come hang out that you think, that they would find helpful, that you might be able to offer them without giving too much up, because I know that that can happen too. So, do you have thoughts
Well,
on that?
like, are you talking like patterns like throughout the season?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
guess
like
more
patterns
so.
like June,
Um,
July, August, kind of what you look at, for their summertime stuff. Because that's I mean, that's when most people are gonna be able to hit those Shield Lakes anyways,
right.
during those summertime months.
Like let's say opener first couple weeks of season can be very hit or miss from year to year. Some years it's just awesome, and then the next
Mhm.
year, depending on water temps and weather, it's a very humbling stretch, I guess. It all depends on weeds, water temp, but most of the time you're fishing shallow, and it's a matter of whether or not I guess the fish are there or not. Just targeting the spawning areas, I guess, more than anything. And there's times where it's just lights out good, and other years where you struggle to even see a fish. And then
Mhm.
you got to start moving out from the bays a little bit and like more to the points going into those spots, or the first rock piles or something like that out from those areas. And as the season progresses after the spawn, like let's say second weekend of July, you can basically start going from point to point or reef to reef. Just start
Mhm.
bouncing over rocks for Sabascong. Now I'm just kind of going off Sabascong Bay on Lake of the Woods more than
Sure.
more than anything. And so yeah, you can pretty well do that right through a good chunk of August, and then it'll once the cool down kind of starts, you'll start seeing more fish up shallow, like in the bays, and and wherever you find some weeds, and then the weeds will start to die off, I guess, like early September-ish.
Mhm.
And that's normally a stretch that I don't like much because it's hard to fish. The water's changing a lot. Um, and then there's kind of, I don't know, I guess I would call it turnover. Maybe it's not quite turnover. It's right before it happens, before that water temp really takes a plummet. That's
Sure.
probably my favorite time to be out, which is like sometimes it happens the last half of September. And you just fish shallow, super shallow. Like you 2 feet of water, a foot of water. Like it's so
Nice.
much fun. And some of those spots, it's like they've been living up in weeds all summer. They haven't
Mhm.
seen anything all summer. Maybe they've been there all summer. I don't know, or they just moved in, for that stretch of time until turnover actually happens. But yeah, those fish are just silly, just
That's awesome.
nuts.
What
So
I what I will say about the rock program in the summer that was like a huge learning curve for me is like it's not a long drawn out program. Like
no.
like like here in Iowa and in Wisconsin where I fish, I'm used to like fishing these big spots and you fish the whole spot because the fish could be along any of the spots. But the problem is like in Canada, there's literally thousands of these spots. And those fish are gonna like the active ones are gonna be on like the most prime real estate of that spot, which makes them easy to find,
Mhm.
but it's also really easy to inadvertently, you know, spend way too long on a spot, which is something that Barry and I think struggled with at first when we first went up there because like we just fished it like some of these spots like we would fish them in Iowa or whatever, but there's like all of this huge expansive area and it's like we're wasting time, you know, in it not knowing obviously, but inadvertently wasting time when we should be just like just bouncing around like
Right.
crazy.
Yeah. I think a big mistake that some people do, like in this part of Lake of the Woods, is they fish it all too fast, and they're not covering the water fairly thorough. Like they're not making the cast close enough together, and they're not picking the spot apart. Because there's
Mhm.
times where it's like you can cast over the same spot twice and won't see a fish, and all of a sudden that third cast and the fish pulls out of there. So
Mhm.
I find you got to really work the spot. Um, but yeah, don't spend a ton of time, but just thoroughly work it. And I guess I'm guilty of throwing a lot of blades because we make them. I
I mean,
guess.
that's fair. If
I
there's
mean,
if there's
it
one
is what it is. Um, and then moving into fall, I'll throw a lot more rubber tubes,
Mhm.
bulldogs, double dogs. I really like the double tail. Like that's where I thought Brady's bowfin was going to be good because I really like the double dogs.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, start doing that. Bonnie baits, jigging Bonnie baits. I love jigging. Jigging's so much fun.
Still have yet to catch one
Um,
jigging. Stupid. It's like
yeah,
my
you got to do it.
or
It's
oh, I
it's
do
so
it
much
all the
fun. You're just
I do it every
you're
year.
staring
For
staring at the trees, waiting for something to bite.
I do it
Basically,
every year. I just don't catch any. Barry, I think I think Barry has caught probably close to 10 jigging fish with me, and I have caught and like had zero bite. Like
oh
just
no,
like it's not that I don't do it. I do it every year, probably for most of the time that we spend fishing in November here in Iowa, but like I just they just don't bite.
right?
I've had them follow a couple of times jigging, like I can see it on Barry's live imaging, but it's just like I don't know, they're just stupid. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah. They're
musky
being a
fishing.
muskie again.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah.
Before I forget, Thatcher, as we're kind of winding down here, what shows are you guys planning on being at, if any? And then how can people get in contact with you? Obviously, I'll link the website and stuff like I always do in my videos in this one as well. But like, you know, what are your plans for the off season? Where can people find your stuff? How easily can they find it? You know, I think they can easily find it. That's a stupid thing to say, but anyway, I'll let you take the helm on that.
Sadly, this year I don't think we are doing any shows. The last couple years we've made it to the Minnesota show. This year, I suppose I'm supposed to be having an ice fishing trip planned, which is happening like right around that same period. So I will be gone that stretch. So we won't make it to Minnesota. Definitely not going to make it to Chicago. I hope to get back to Chicago one year, or even do like one of the Wisconsin ones.
If you're
But
gonna do
you
one,
can
it
find us.
sounds like Wausau is the one to do.
That's what I've
Getting
kind of heard.
get in touch with Rich Reinhardt. I bet he's probably always got a booth for you there somewhere.
Right. Yeah, I've always heard that's a good one. At least the last couple of years, I've heard that's really good. So yeah, I guess you can find our stuff on the website. For like down for US guys, Team Rhino Outdoors carries their stuff. They carry the Growler arms. What else do they have? I think they have non-typicals, 8.9s, I believe, and they got a huge selection of growlers. And they carry a bunch of our replacement grubs. And then Thorn Brothers also carries basically about the same thing. So they both between those two stores, they carry probably quite a bit of our musky stuff. And then once you get up here to Sunset Country, most of the stores carry in the area carry our stuff. So if you're coming
Nice.
up Lake of the Woods, Eagle Lake, Lac Sewell, there's a bunch of stores around that all carry our stuff. Heading up to
Yeah,
Manaki, stop at Lake of the Woods Sports or Reddens or Clark's or Bobby's or there's a bunch of stores. Gills and Soon-Arrows. Yeah.
yeah. Your stuff was all over that little outpost there by Nestor Falls. I couldn't believe it. It's just this little hole in the wall, and then, like, here it is, all the Drop Tine stuff. So I thought that was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
But then again, that was right down the road from you. That was
Helliers, I
simple.
think. So
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell you. But you will be at shows, technically speaking, because anywhere that Thorn Brothers and Team Rhino Outdoors are, your stuff will
mhm.
be with them. So
Yep.
technically, at all of those
They
shows with those
they'll
guys.
have a big selection. I know Team Rhino got their order. Oh shoot, when was it? I think like the end of November or first part of December, something like that, for get ready for show season, and we're just gearing up one for Thorn Brothers to send out. So yep, they'll be stocked up and they'll have a whole bunch of stuff at the shows, and they go to them all.
Mhm.
I don't know if they miss any.
Yeah,
Both those stores.
I
So
don't think that they do. And like KV
yeah.
says, and I agree with KV, the growler is probably one of the best, if not the best lure out there under $20 for musky fishing. I actually
Mhm.
did a video about this Thatcher that I need to edit, but
Did which models of growlers do you have? What does it
I
have for
don't.
the front weight on it? I don't
Just
even have one sitting here.
a lead
Just
weight.
the lead?
I know that you talked about changing that up.
Shoot.
All of mine are lead weights because I bought these used from a guy. He was selling growlers on the flea for like I got 4 of them for I don't know what it was, $50 or something like that. I
Oh,
was like,
geez.
dude.
We can
I was
barely
like,
make
dude.
them for that.
I was like, dude, you're nuts. I was glad to
Yeah.
take him off his hands. I think I gave most of them away. I think I gave 2 of them away. This one, and then there's it's like all pearl. I don't know what you'd call the color, but
Oh, okay.
it's just all pearl, iridescent pearl. Those 2 I
Mhm.
kept. I was like, well, I would pay $50 for I'd pay $50 for this color and the iridescent pearl, so I basically got 2 growlers for free.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
that's a steal. But
yeah.
there are new versions that are heading out now, and we started, I think it was like about the end of June last year, that stores and everybody started getting them, is we got a brass weight up front rather than the
Yeah,
lead
like,
weight.
it's like this one, isn't it, Thatcher? This one up here?
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah. Yeah. So it gives a little more ping to it, and it's a little more appealing to the eye, I guess. Little
Sure.
matches the colors a little better.
Well, they certainly didn't mind this lead weight if you can't tell by the wealth of
The
teeth marks in that thing, like,
teeth
it's
mark. That
just
was your hot
look
one,
at that!
wasn't it?
Look at that!
Right?
That one is just what's that?
Just mangled.
No, this was the one yeah, this is the one I got the 42-inch pike on and, at least 1 muskie up there, maybe 2. This thing caught
Mm.
so many pike, it was just ridiculous that one day. I mean,
Right.
this one's got a 38-inch pike and a 42-inch pike on it, and I don't even know. We were catching like 30 to 42-inch pike like they were freaking wipers up there in that bay for an
I
afternoon. It
I
was just so
I can't
dumb.
believe the pike in that lake.
It was so
Unreal.
stupid. It was so much fun. Like it was just. when they would like follow it in sometimes, and it was just, oh god, it was so
Yeah,
dumb. It was great.
yeah. That's such a
uh,
cool fishery,
oh yeah,
that one.
everything in Canada is cool. Every place I've been has their like subtleties and nuances, and it's just like, yeah, it sucks that there's no way I'll ever be able to explore it all. But
I
I
live here
need,
and I won't be able to explore it all.
I know I need to. You keep sending me all these teasers about Rowan Lake because those outposts buy your baits, and like my father-in-law used to go up there, and I feel like I just have to do the pilgrimage at some point because there's freaking mondos in there.
There's a lot of big fish. Those guys just crush them out there. Yeah,
And
it's
I
it's
get that
cool.
it's not an easy or guaranteed thing by any means, but just looks like it'd be a cool thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, I agree there, Greg. Ontario is freaking huge.
Hmm.
I mean, it's like Ontario itself is like the size of the entire Midwest, which is just, yeah, it's crazy to think about. And like really,
Yeah.
just fishing Northwest Ontario, we're like scratching the surface at just the available water in Canada itself. At least
Hmm.
for me, anyways. Like, I mean, I'm literally driving, you know, 2 hours into Canada, if even that far most of the time. Like Lake of the Woods isn't even that far. So
No,
yeah,
no, you're hour north of the border, and
yeah,
then like even Dryden, where the Wabigoon is, you're only a couple hours. So
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. It's cool. It's just a special place to go fish. It's just, yeah,
Hmm.
nothing like it.
Yeah. But speaking on Rowan Lake, um, Jody and I were just talking today. We're contemplating on releasing the Rowan Lake special.
Nice.
Maybe we're contemplating. We got to talk to Chris about it though, still, because he's the one that was the push on that one and got it rolling. So
I'm certain that there would be a plethora of anglers that would find a wealth of utility from that bait,
mhm.
if you get permission to do more with it. I don't
Yeah,
think that
yeah.
selling
It
them
was
is going to be
It
an
was
issue.
Jody's idea. So I think we might be get a go ahead here. So
So it sounds like you got two new ones kind of in the works now, at least to add to the lineup. So
yeah, we got a couple new things on the go right now. We didn't do a whole lot last year nor the year before, so I think it's time to add a couple things.
it's super
It's
exciting.
getting time. Yeah,
And
yeah.
they're all just different tools that do different things, man. It's super neat. And honestly, too, if you could get the buzzbait thing going with like that would be killer. Especially because no one in
Hmm.
the musky world really does it anymore. I mean, like
No.
I got one of Booker's that I found at a freaking Hayward flea market. The one I just found it. I used it some in Canada this year, but it didn't do too much. It really wanted to roll like the bait.
Oh,
The
okay.
the head the head isn't weighted enough for the water that the blade puts off. So like,
Because that was done in a slop master, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a slot master head, but the problem is like even just like really, you got to really just crawl that thing if you don't like any sort of speed, it just starts to tilt. And like I've seen
Oh.
that before in buzz baits and stuff too. It's just it is what it
Hmm.
is. It could just be a lemon, it could just be whatever, but I'm guessing it's just because the head is not heavy enough to keel the bait itself with the water that's displaced by
Right.
the blade.
Big Tooth, I think, had one that was really good too for a
Yeah,
few
but they
years.
again,
Yeah.
they don't make that anymore. Big Tooth
You
doesn't
can't
make
get them.
that. And
No.
so there's your two musky buzzbaits that like were, I'm sure that there's smaller batch guys that make them somewhere without a doubt, but like,
Mhm.
um, I don't know if those Booker buzzbaits have ever hooked a muskie. you know, there there was a reason I kind of just quit chucking it because we were throwing it back in the Pike Bay and the pike weren't even really having it, and I was like, if they're not having it, then like I'm probably wasting my time as other things are just killing, the
Yeah.
little sister and stuff. It's like, okay, well, we can be done with this one. But
Hmm.
I'll probably gift it to a kid at some point and just it'll be fun. So
Yeah. Yep. No,
Well,
that's all right.
Thatcher.
I got a few baits I got to do that with.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I'm
Yeah.
super excited to see all the stuff that you guys come out with, and keep me in the loop if you need any input on testing, some of those models or anything that you want run. I will do my best to find time to run it. But
Yep. Yep.
I
We'll do that. So,
I really appreciate you hopping on tonight. I cannot wait to get back to Canada and hang out with you again. I Please tell Jody thank you so much again for letting me hang out with you guys and being so kind to put me up this summer and hang out and do some fishing. So
no,
yeah,
happy to have you. Hopefully we get to do it again. I know you got a busy summer coming up. So
it will be busy, especially if I'm able to book even a fraction of what I would like to book in the Northwoods. It will be very busy, but I will find time, assuming everything works out, to sneak up there at least for if we're in Hayward, you are only like 4.5 hours away from me. Like that's not that far at all. It's more just
no.
getting across the border. So because I'm
Well, that's the
basically
easy part.
yeah, I
You
mean
had an easy
basically
experience last year, didn't you?
yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
I think like after saying that I'm going to visit my buddy from Drop Tine Tackle 2 years in a row, and now that that's in the system, they don't think I'm just bullshitting them anymore. So that's good.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right. Yeah.
but, but anyway, thank you so much for taking the time tonight and all the things, Thatcher. Love the baits and everything, dude. I appreciate you greatly. Thank you so much.
No. Thanks for having me on, Matt, and thanks for all that you do. And Happy New Year. It's
Yeah,
only a
happy
couple
New
days
Year.
away now.
I know. Happy New
You
Year to
know?
you guys as well. So I'll let you get back to the fam and bait making and all the things, dude. But thanks again for coming on. I'll catch you. Uh, yeah, catch you hopefully this summer,
Yeah.
maybe more than
We'll
once.
stay in touch. So
Sounds good, man. Thank you so much.
yeah.
Later,
Okay.
dude.
Talk to you later. Bye.